Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you've been grinding away and struggling to see real, noticeable arm growth, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to unpack a 13-exercise, absolute anatomical masterclass that's designed to completely transform your arms in just 4 weeks. We're going to dive right into the exact mechanics, the specific muscle targeting, and the golden physiological rules you absolutely need to pack on muscle fast. Let's get into it. Here's a quick look at our roadmap. We'll start with the 4-week arm transformation blueprint. Then we'll cover building bigger biceps, targeting the triceps, strengthening the forearms, and finally wrap up with form and your biggest takeaways. All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the 4-week arm transformation and your 13-exercise blueprint. Honestly, the craziest data point here is the timeline. 4 weeks. The source material outlines a 13-exercise toolkit that's engineered to hit literally every single angle of your arms. It totally proves that you don't need endless months in the gym if you just follow the right blueprint. And it doesn't even matter if you're training at home or in a fully loaded facility. It's all about precision, not just clocking random hours. Moving right along to section 2, building bigger biceps and mastering front arm mechanics. So to actually understand the bicep portion of this routine, specifically exercises 1 through 4 and 11, we have to talk anatomy. We aren't just curling aimlessly. Actually, scratch that. We're doing the exact opposite. We're specifically targeting the long head and the short head of the bicep for that peak and width. Plus, we're hitting the brachialis underneath, which physically pushes the bicep up, and the brachioradialis that ties right into the forearm. Every single curl in this sequence has a very specific anatomical job. Now, here's where so many people completely drop the ball. Proper form means using your muscles to totally control the weight. The second that weight gets too heavy, what happens? You end up leaning forward, recruiting your back, or just using momentum to swing the thing up. You've got to leave your ego at the door, pick a manageable weight, and absolutely force that specific muscle to do all the work. Which brings us to a real game changer, exercise 4, the seated Zottman curl. The source highlights this specific quote, and it's super important. The Zottman curl isn't just your standard curl. It involves this grip-changing maneuver right in the middle of the lift. By twisting your wrist, you're waking up an entirely new set of muscle fibers, specifically hammering that brachialis and brachioradialis we just talked about. It is incredible for building overall arm thickness. Okay, let's look at the actual data for your bicep block. I'm not going to bore you by reading off every single number, but look at the underlying trend here. The reps are super consistent, sitting right in that sweet spot of 10 to 15. But more importantly, notice the strict 30 to 60 seconds of rest. That tight rest window is specifically engineered to trap blood in the muscle and force some serious metabolic stress. All right, on to section 3, targeting the triceps to build massive back arms. Fun fact for you. Your triceps literally make up about 2/3 of your upper arm mass. Yeah, so if you want massive arms, this is where the real size comes from. The exercises in this block, 5 through 10, plus exercise 12, are perfectly engineered to isolate the 3 parts of this muscle: the lateral head, the middle triceps, and the long head. Hitting all 3 of those is exactly what gives the back of your arm that really thick horseshoe shape. But to actually trigger that growth, you gotta maximize tension. A recurring theme in the source, especially when we're talking about rope pushdowns and close grip presses, is controlling the negative movement. Pushing the weight down, that's only half the battle. When it comes back up, do not just let it pull your hands back. You have to actively resist the weight on the way up to maintain constant tearing tension on that tricep. Take a heavy compound movement, like the bench dip, for instance. The mechanics here are absolutely critical. Step 1, inhale and slowly lower your body. Step 2, bend those elbows with absolute control. Step 3, press hard using purely your triceps. And step 4, push straight back to the top. It's this really precise rhythm of controlled lowering and explosive pushing. And here is your complete triceps toolkit right by the numbers. Again, we're living in that 10 to 15 rep range for maximum growth, but pay close attention to the rest periods here compared to the biceps. You'll notice they stretch a bit longer, up to 60 to 90 seconds for things like the dumbbell close grip press and single arm overhead extensions. The source specifically points out that this is to avoid fatigue, so you can maintain totally perfect form on those heavier, highly demanding lifts. Which leads us to section 4, strengthening the forearms. The ultimate finisher. This brings us to exercise 13, the seated barbell back wrist curl. Now, this one focuses entirely on wrist strength and forearm density, and the source gives us a really explicit warning here. You must lift the weight using only your wrists without moving your forearms at all. You want those forearms totally pinned and stable, forcing the wrist to do 100% of the contracting. It's the ultimate finisher to make sure your lower arms actually match all that new growth in your upper arms. Finally, Section 5, Form and Final Takeaways, the real secret to making these 4 weeks count. So we've got the 13 exercises, we know our anatomical targets, and we have all the sets and reps data. But what is the overarching secret here? How do you actually transform your arms on such a tight 4-week timeline when other programs just haven't worked? Well, the source lays out a clear, totally non-negotiable pattern for success. First, keep your back straight and chest up for stability. Second, avoid momentum. Seriously, if you can't control it, it's too heavy. Third, move only at the elbow joint during your curls. Fourth, never ever rush that negative movement. And fifth, well, the fifth rule definitely deserves its own spotlight. We're going to wrap up this explainer with a really powerful psychological insight from the text. Visualize the muscles working. The true driver of this 4-week sprint isn't just the biomechanics, it's your mind-muscle connection. If you actually feel the muscle resisting on every single rep, your growth is going to be explosive. So, armed with this complete blueprint, the real question is, are you going to keep mindlessly counting reps, or are you finally going to make every single rep count?